Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Friday, June 6th, D-Day. And Fridays mean paydays around here for our YieldMax funds. This will be the video for the 7 individual income strategy funds, AMZY just being one of them that we cover in these videos. I chose AMZY because they were part of Group D, and you got a check from them. Out of the ones I cover, AMZY and APLY are the 2 that paid this week. So if you're not already a subscriber, please consider it. We're at 580. The goal is 1,000. If you didn't know, regardless of how well you're doing, not saying I'm doing well, but no matter how many views you get, you don't make a penny from YouTube until you have 1,000 subscriber and X amount of watch hours. So doing this for free, but with the goal of hopefully eventually getting to kind of have it be like a little side hustle, and then I'll probably make videos where I invest the money that comes in from YouTube, and maybe people will be interested in that. I'm also on X, really just to let you know when YouTube videos are coming out and when I repost things from YieldMax as well. So let's get into it. It's Friday, so it's rolling day, right, where they close out all the weekly options that they had sold and hopefully make a profit, and then go ahead and sell the following weeks, because they don't let anything get assigned. They don't let anything go to expiration. So when we go through, there were tons of trades today. If you're into ALTI or LFGY, go check out my other video. It just premiered. But as far as for this video, we had trades for AMZY, GOOY, FBY, NFLY, I don't even know what I'd say, MSFO, and AMDY. APLY already went ahead and rolled yesterday. Okay, so we downloaded these sheets when they came out, went ahead and put them into our Excel spreadsheets. It would probably be easier if I used Google Sheets, but I'm old and I learned on Excel, and I don't trust Google Sheets because I've heard people say sometimes they have issues and they're not working or they're not updating. So I like my trusty Excel, but it means I gotta enter everything in myself. So we'll start with trades first on everything, since the big thing on Fridays is trades day. And we'll start with a winner, right? I think AMDY is the only out of all that rolled today that made any money. So they made $1.3 million with the roll. They closed out their AMD 119s, right? Yep. They closed out their 119s and their 121s, paying 4 cents for the shares to close them out for the options. 4 cents per share, 100 shares per option contract, 5,595 contracts, and 6,940 contracts. So these are winners. And then they sold next week's, June 13th, 120s and 122s, collecting $1.38 and $1.30. Overall profiting $1.3 million. 19 million outstanding shares, 142 million in assets under management. The synthetic's worth nearly $8 million currently. It's out till July. Most of the money's in treasuries. And like we said, we rolled these to next week, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on the holdings pages. Let's take one step backwards. Just see how the stocks and the funds did today. Sorry, can you tell I'm looking to hurry up and get to bed? AMD went up 0.43% today. AMDY, the YieldMax fund, beat it nearly double, 0.81%. Amazon went up 2.72% today. YieldMax fund went up 2.13%, not bad. Apple up $1.64 today. APLY up $1.98, so beat it. That's great. Meta up 1.91%. FBY up a little over 1%. So not as great on that one. I think it was mostly because they were capped, right? Their calls that were sold were already in the money, so the more Meta went up, the more they were going to have to pay to close those calls out. So that's kind of the reason these can't always follow the stock all the way up, and the reason why sometimes a down day in the stock can be an up day for the YieldMax fund, because they could already be in the money and having to pay to close. So if the stock comes down, then the cost that they would have to spend to close is shrinking. So that's why you get those down days with up YieldMax. Google up 3.25%. So obviously that blew through their calls. They were capped at 0.98%. Microsoft up 0.58%. MSFO lost 0.06%. And Netflix lost 0.72%. NFLY didn't quite lose as much at 0.48%. All right, let's get back to the trades. So that was it for AMDY. AMZY, since our last video, had trades on Thursday and Friday. So at first they had an addition, so more shares were purchased, more outstanding shares, so they went ahead and added to their synthetic, which is costly because the synthetic is doing well, so to buy more of the calls that are doing well cost a lot of money. But then they went ahead and started positions for next week based off of those, and then they also closed out some of their positions and rolled them to the following week. Looks like a loss, right? Closing for 455, selling for 220, closing for 314, selling for 160. So overall, $2.3 million loss yesterday, and then today they took care of the rest of it. Only 100 contracts, so nothing in comparison to the 12,000 plus contracts that they moved yesterday. So rolled these other 100, again, lost $9,000. But it's not doing bad, right? The big thing with AMZY is the synthetic is worth $31 million. So obviously, it's a possibility that it gets closed out before the next declaration. No guarantees. But whenever it does, obviously, a lot of the money gets used to start the new synthetic position. But that'll be a big chunk of money that's currently worth nearly $2 a share. So that'll be a nice distribution when they close that out. But we don't need to worry about these because they have now been rolled to next week. There's $270 million being managed in the fund. There was an increase of 850,000 shares, bringing the outstanding shares to 17,400,000. And today was your payday. If you have AMZY, you got 59.55 cents per share deposited in your account, unless you're one of the unlucky ones that it makes you wait till Monday. So what'd you do with it? I buy more shares when I get it, only if the price is below my cost basis. Okay, APLY, no trades today. They went ahead and rolled yesterday, or actually, they rolled on Wednesday the majority, right? They're large, 6,230 contracts. So yesterday there was additional shares added to the outstanding shares, more people buying into the fund, so they added to the synthetic position, and then they started their call spread with those contracts. So they made 91,000 yesterday. But on their roll, we already talked about that on Wednesday, they lost 937,000. APLY's the other one. You got 31.19 cents deposited in your account for every share of APLY that you hold. 10 million outstanding shares, 126 million being managed. Synthetic's going to cost $5.6 million to close out. And we will see this one closed out during this next cycle, because the next declaration is July 2nd, and this synthetic is dated for June 20th. So we're going to need Apple to get back to 210 before we close that out, or it's going to cost them money to close it out. All right. These already got rolled, so we're not worried about it. They've got some, the June 13th are 4.2% out of the money currently, 212.50. All right, FBY had trades on Thursday and Friday, closing 610 contracts on Thursday. Sorry, I feel like I have to sneeze. As a loss, right? Paid $13.40 per share to close them out. Received $5.66. And then I don't talk about the other end of the credit spreads because those are just protection, but they're costly too. Obviously they made some money on that one because their calls got blown through, so their calls that are further out end up making money. But that's never the goal. You're still losing more than you're making there. $20 difference in the spread there. So they went to $25 spreads just to try and spend less on the insurance side of it and make a little bit more, but they lost $389,000 in those rolls yesterday, and then they rolled the other 1,890 contracts today. Lost on that as well. So 715 is going to be next week's new strike price that we're looking to stay under. Lost $1.2 million on those trades. FBY's part of Group B. They have 12 days till their next declaration. There was an increase in outstanding shares, bringing it up to 10,225,000. There's $169 million being managed under the fund. And the calls that were already rolled before today are 1.76% out of the money going into next week. GOOY on their roll today lost a little over $500,000. Closing the 172.50s, not bad. 64 cents, selling new 175s for 162. But on the bigger side, closing the 170s cost $3.14 a share, and closing the 172.50s cost 93 cents a share. They just did a little better than breaking even on that roll, and obviously they lost money rolling the 170s to 175s. So, all right, all this got changed today. They were in the money. That's why they cost us to roll them. Our synthetic's worth $6.5 million. It's out till July 18th. These guys declare next Wednesday, so this was the last trading day for them. So they'll start doing their calculations. They figure out the distribution and turn it in by Monday, but they don't announce or declare it till Wednesday. Increase in shares, bringing it up to just under 10 million shares, $120 million being managed in the fund. All right, for Microsoft, they had trades on Thursday and Friday. People bought into the fund, so they added to the synthetic up here. That's what these two are. Cost a lot of money because their synthetic's doing well. So they overall lost $335,000 yesterday on the trades. Then they rolled today's expiring calls to next week, paying $379 to close, and opening the new ones collecting $226. So that was a net loss, and then closing the 465s for $7.44 a share, and opening 477.50s for $2 a share. Another loss. That's why they lost $1 million on their trades today. They're part of Group C, so they declare in 19 days. There was a large increase, 200,000 shares, bringing it over 7 million outstanding shares, 122 million managed in the fund. Synthetic, dated for July, is worth $9.1 million. Most likely won't get closed out before the next declaration. And we already talked about these. They got rolled, so we don't care that they're red in the money. And we're not worried about 100 shares. And finally, NFLY. They had trades on Thursday and Friday. Closing out 100 contracts because the stock went against them. Paying $33.93 to close them out. Selling new ones for $7.60. So pretty big distance. 419 contracts getting closed out at $12.2250. Again, paying over $30, collecting $8 on the roll. So they lost $1.1 million yesterday, and I was wrong. They had a positive trading day today. So the first one and the last one, AMDY and NFLY, made money today. So they rolled their 1250s for a nice win, paying 32 cents, selling next week's 1265s for $7.33 per share. So that was a win, but obviously smaller amount of contracts is going to not make as much money. Then they closed out their more 1250s for 42 cents and sold for $7.49, so another win. And they closed some 1255s for 20 cents. That's a nice win. And sold 1265s for $6.63. So overall made $444,000 of profit today trading. Okay. NFLY also had an increase in shares, bringing them up just over 8.5 million shares outstanding. They're managing $160 million in the fund. It's 19 days until they declare their next distribution. Their synthetic is out till July 18th and doing very well, worth nearly $15 million. And we're not concerned with any of these June 6th dated because they just got rolled. So the ones that they already did have out till next Friday are at $12.90, and they're nearly 4% out of the money. All right, that's everything for trades and holdings today. I will make another video this weekend with all the updated holdings. Right, there won't be anything old on there anymore. Everything new, percentage out of the money, so we know what kind of ranges we're looking for each of these stocks to trade within so that we can make the maximum profit. I'll also, in that same video, make a guesstimate for, who do we say? I think it was, GOOY. These guys will be declaring on Wednesday, so we'll be making an estimate or guesstimate for them as well. Also, take a look. Tomorrow, I will put out a video for all the trades that I personally made this week. So, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you did, if you didn't, well, you didn't hear me say that anyway. So, dad joke of the day: what's a writer's favorite train station? Penn Station. I don't feel like that one's that funny, but just reading off the dad joke calendar. All right, come back tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a better joke. Everybody have a nice weekend. Hope you did well trading. Hope you got a nice payday on your distributions. Good night.